I'm Karen.
And I'm Mackenzie.
From the Norfolk, Nebraska FFA chapter. Our project was on apple pomace ethanol production.
How and why was the project selected?
Through our natural resource class, we learned about ethanol production and even had the opportunity to tour our local ethanol producer, Louis Dreyfus. In class, we experimented with using distiller's grains to make our own ethanol.
We managed to produce successfully and started to become curious about different materials to make ethanol out of and if these different products could be efficient. We decided to use apple pomace, a waste from apple juice, as our variable instead of corn. Corn is a highly consumed product, while apple pomace is a waste product.
What knowledge or skills did we gain from doing this process?
In this experiment, we gained knowledge of how important ethanol is in the agriculture industry and our natural resources. Through our research, we learned about the many uses of corn and how there is an argument about it. The argument states that corn should mainly be used for food and livestock instead of fuel and pollutants. This gave us the idea of using byproducts instead. Apple pomace would normally be composted after the juicing process, but the high amount of glucose left in the apple is still usable.
This experiment taught us the importance of patience, the effort that it takes to do an experiment successfully, and that it's okay to mess up. We ran many trials. Only 3 were similar, and the others included sensor errors. We need to learn how to use many different tools to complete the experiment. Ethanol sensors, LabQuest software, hot plates, and thermometers were a must. Figuring out the right temperature and stir speed to ensure maximum production was one task. Learning how to calibrate the LabQuest software helped us in recording precise and accurate data.
What collaborators were used, and what did the collaboration provide for the project?
We collaborated with Louis Dreyfus, our advisor Mr. Anderson, the Dex Apple Orchard, and a Nebraska State Officer, Luke Crable. Louis Dreyfus is an ethanol and distiller grain plant located north of Norfolk. They helped us gain knowledge about the process of ethanol and the many factors included, specifically ideal temperature, storage, and mixing process. Their faculty gave us a real-life look into the industry and many jobs that stem from it.
Deck and Swan Apple Orchard is a local apple producer located near Winside, Nebraska. They gave us the experience to view the start of the apples, the apple cider production process, and what would become of the byproduct. They also gave us information about where the byproducts would go.
Lastly, our advisor, Mr. Anderson, and the past state officer, Mr. Crable, helped us by giving feedback and direction on our experiment. We needed assistance in identifying controls, hypothesis wording, and identifying specific independent and dependent variables. Their previous experiences gave us tips on what to do.
How can your findings and conclusions be applied in the agriculture, food, and natural resources industry?
This experiment supported that apple pomace could be used as a substitute for corn and ethanol production. Because of the high glucose content, this apple byproduct can produce highly usable alcohol fuel. This also could reduce the demand for corn to be used for ethanol instead of livestock, feed, and people consumption.
The biggest contribution our experiment is how different byproducts from an array of industries can be used for energy production. If we can find ways to transport byproducts such as fruits and waste from cafeterias and restaurants, we can find ways to put these to use instead of landfills or just compost. Therefore, we are able to use corn in other industries instead. This applies to the natural resources industry heavily because of the higher amount of ethanol going into fuels such as gas.
Thank you again for taking the time to review our experiment on apple pomace ethanol production.
4 minutes and